What's going on, everybody? So today's video is showcasing a car that is in my possession. I had never had any intentions of obtaining this vehicle. This kind of came on spur of the moment. And I got this vehicle for a multitude of reasons, but my number one factor was I just didn't have the heart to see what was going to happen to it. There was a good chance that it was going to get scrapped, parted out, or something. And in its current state right now, it is an utter pile of crap. It is a crap box. However, some of us have these ambitions of visions down the road of perfection, and I foresee this car in that realm of perfection when I'm done with it. So this video is the before video that you're going to see and how much of a crap box it is. However, there is a cult following behind this vehicle. I've also spent a decent amount of time with just simply driving this car to see if it would fail on me over a decent amount of time. And it actually has been phenomenal from a reliability standpoint, but also from the fun factor. So yeah, be forewarned, it doesn't look great. And I just gonna let you know ahead of time, it really doesn't look great. But I think you will appreciate in the video number 2, when it's all done, what it'll look like. I have a lot of hope and ambition for it, and I have a well thought out plan. So just be patient is the best way to put that. This is a 1975 BMW 2002. Now, the chassis or designation that this was in BMW's realm was the E10. Now, you either know about this car or you don't, and that's completely fine. If you do know about this, then you know that its historical significance, especially in the motorsport realm and the sports car realm. This was essentially Germany's game changer in the sports car scene, and this is kind of what saved BMW's grace in the sports car manufacturer. So this is known as the 2002. It's a cult following behind it. People literally go nuts over these cars. And when I first heard about these, and I heard about people going nuts about these, I'm like, it can't be that great. And I really was in that mindset. Well, this came into my hands a while back. I got it for a really good price. It was actually sitting in a barn/garage, not running. And so I've obtained this vehicle. And I got it running. I got all the basics kind of working on it. All the lights work, brakes work, clutch, transmission, and the motor. So I've put a decent amount of driving time in it, pretty much hopping back and forth from the airport to home as kind of a semi-daily. I don't really daily drive this, but I put a decent amount of miles on it. It has proven itself to be actually a fantastic car. And that's just from the reliability standpoint. We're not going to even go into detail about the fun factor. So back to the history of this vehicle. This was essentially the game changer for BMW. This first was released in the mid-60s. Originally the 1600, and then the 2002 came out in the late 60s. There's a multitude of versions of this. In fact, it's amazing the significance and evolution of the 2002 over the years. The holy grail is the 2002 Turbo, which fetches astronomical amounts of money now. Even these piles of crap, I'm being honest, look at it, fetch kind of stupid money for what they are. It's kind of ridiculous. People really go nuts over these. And I didn't understand that until I actually owned this for a little while. And even in its crap box state that it currently is, has put more smiles on my face than a lot of new cars that were quadruple the value of what this was and what I paid for this. So that kind of says something for these. So let's do a little walk around so you can see how crappy this is currently. Now, this is obviously a 2-door. This is the square taillight version. They also have the holy grail of people really sought after, the roundies. And 2002 BMW signature, you know, the body lines on these, honestly, I actually kind of like these. Obviously, it looks really crappy right now, especially with these diving boards. And, you know, let's go into detail about its current condition. This outside exterior looks like worse than pretty much the heat shield of an Apollo 11 re-entry capsule. So that's that. You know, the interior is spacious. There's more cracks on this dash than in the Grand Canyon. I don't know where the mounts are for this seat. I do have this seat. I don't know where those went. You know, so then the door panels, obviously, there are no door panels. They're just pieces of wood. It does have a sunroof. This is sealed better than Titan's submarine, believe it or not. Somebody really put their due diligence in and resealed this, because this must have leaked at one time. So yeah, you could probably go to the bottom of the ocean with this and it would probably not leak any water. You know, so there's a lot of variants of this current state of this car that most people would shake their head and say, boy, you really got yourself in a position of, what are you doing? However, I have a lot of hope and I have a lot of promising visions for this car, and so I wanted to do this video to showcase the before, and then I'm obviously going to do a video showcasing the after. So why are these cars so popular and why are they in this realm of coolness? Well, let's just say they're, number one, a 70s car, and it's a 70s BMW. There's something nostalgic about that, kind of like an era of sports cars that truly encompassed driving. It was a true driver's car. I guess that's the best way to put that. Now, the heart behind this amazing car is probably one of BMW's most notable engines. Some may argue with that, but after you do some research on this variant of engine, you'll see truly how much motorsport, wow, there's more creaks in that than grandma's family floor. This is the BMW M10. This was BMW's true staple motorsport engine. Now this looks absolutely terrible right now, and I get that. However, this runs incredible. I stuck a Weber carburetor on there and a little tinkering and it fired up, did a little tuning, and this thing absolutely rips for the 100 horsepower that it makes. Now, this is the 1.8. They have the 2-liter. You could get the 2-liter turbo. You could get a multitude of modifications to truly squeeze a bunch of horsepower out of these engines. And the holy grail, or the pinnacle of the M10, was in the early 80s when Formula One tried to squeeze the biggest turbos that they possibly could in their race car. And at one point, this variant of the M10, which was in a different designation because it had a couple different attributes than obviously this engine, but it still shared the heart, was making over 1100 horsepower. So that says a lot about these engines. They truly are a phenomenal engine. They're bulletproof. They're easy to work on. They're tough. They're simple. And I see why people love these so much. So that is the heart of this. It is paired to a 4-speed manual, which this is probably the original shift knob, and it's actually kind of nostalgic. So, all right, what are my hopes for this? We're gonna go for a drive, and I'll show you why I like this, and even in its current crap box status, how much fun it is to drive. And it truly is this little race car on wheels. I mean, I tell you what, going in the canyons, even in this current state, it is an absolute hoot to drive. There is something really special about a BMW 2002, and I did not realize that until actually driving one really hard and putting it through its paces. You could flick them around like a street legal go-kart. And they really actually have an impressive amount of power for being such a small 2-liter engine. So I want you to see this in its current state. We're gonna go for a drive. You're gonna be shaking your head like, wow, this really is a pile of crap, but just give me a little bit of time and I'll do a second video and show you the resurrection of this car and saving it from an unfateful outcome. I don't know. I believe that this probably would have been parted out. I don't think it would have been saved. The owners didn't want to save it, and I just didn't have the heart to see that go. So pretty much screwed myself over with garage space obtaining this vehicle when I had no intentions of obtaining it. But now I have a vision for it, and I'm gonna carry out that vision and save it. Let's go for a drive. You ready to go? Come on, let's go. Or you just want to sit there and be a roadblock? Okay. Okay, so, you know, with the 100, 110 horsepower that you have to work with this factory M10 and the 4-speed, gives you a rough 0 to 60 around the time, give or take what I'm reading, is about high 7s, low 8s, which that doesn't sound great from today's standards when, you know, a Honda Civic, Honda Accord does, you know, mid 5s, 0 to 60. However, in 1975, that was ridiculously quick. When, in fact, it blew the doors off a lot of cars, including some muscle cars. So that says something for these. And top speed, give or take 125 miles an hour, which also was a respectable number in the 70s. So that's kind of the benchmark for these. But that, you know, speed wasn't the forte of this car. It was the handling and its maneuverability through the twisties. I think what I love about this car is, even as crappy as it is from an exterior and cosmetic condition, mechanically it's phenomenal. It starts right up, all the gears work, it shifts flawlessly, it stops flawlessly, and it handles flawlessly. So for a really crappy looking car, it drives like a solid 9, even though it looks like a solid -5. And sometimes that makes you appreciate a car more, I guess, when they drive really nice. I'll give you a little example when we come around here. I mean, the shift's phenomenal. I think one aspect that I really like about the 2002 is the field of view for the driver. Obviously, Otto really likes this because, well, there's no seat, so he has all the room in the world. But, I mean, truly, the peripheral vision for the driver is amazing. I think I love that. The analog instrument, you couldn't get any more analog than that. You have your RPM here. Speedo, which does not work, and it's missing half the needle. Temperature gauge, which kind of works. My oil pressure and high beam, low beam, and then obviously the fuel gauge. Got your lights, which all those work, fog lamps, lighter when you want to smoke a stogie, and rear defrosters. This kind of gives you a layout of the shift pattern. This does have, oh my god, that sounds like a Tyrannosaurus Rex is in my firewall. And heater and fresh air. There is no AC, and it also has these goofy extra ventilation when you need it. You also have on this side defroster and more heat ventilations, and this does have roll windows, so can't get any more simple than that. So let's go for a little drive and I'll show you why I truly like the BMW 2002. Acceleration is actually pretty impressive, really torquey all the way through the RPM range, and it pulls all the way to the red line, which is actually pretty impressive for that little M10. So if you got to get on the highway quick, see what the acceleration's like. Acceleration is great. I mean, it really is. So I truly understand why people really favor the 2002. Like I said, I probably stuck a solid 500 miles, 600 miles on this car, just driving it back and forth to the grocery store. I even drove it in some unfavorable winter conditions. And so that made me really want to hold on to this car and fix it up. It kind of proved itself of why, number one, it's such a good car, why people really like them, why it really defined what a sports car should drive like. I feel like this was similar to like what a Mazda Miata was, you know, in the 70s. Maybe a little bit more refined than a Miata, but overall its fun factor is really high. If you are looking at 2002, obviously you want to consider a lot of variables. Rust is a major factor. These things are absolutely butchered with, you wouldn't believe the stuff that you'll see. Another thing to consider is parts availability. I mean, they are out there, but they're not like amazing like the MG, where you can just go order stuff. And also price point. These are stupid expensive. Even in a really crappy state of condition, people still spend an absurd amount of money on them. And then when they're in really good shape, they're stupid money even. It's just, the price point of these is kind of ridiculous. You're paying a lot for the status of a 2002. So you need to consider that when it comes to looking for one, and then simply finding one that you can essentially make your own. There are a lot out there, but they're also kind of fixed up and people want a lot of money for them. So consider those variables when looking for these. Overall, what would you expect to pay for one? Well, they range. This one I got for a ridiculously low amount of money. Safe price point, I would say, is $5 grand for a really, really crappy one that doesn't run and needs a lot of work. 15 is a safe point for one that runs and drives but still looks kind of crappy. And then 20 to 30, you're gonna get a pretty nice 2002, as in $20,000 to $30,000. So consider that price point. You know, they're not very high horsepower. There's a lot of cars that blow the doors off it, but that's not what these are known for. They're really fun in the canyons, in the twisties, and the smile that they put on your face for having such little horsepower is a pretty well-earned experience. And I guess that's why these cars are so appealing to the purist when it comes to the automotive world. So if you got any questions about this, obviously look out for the #2 video that's coming out. Give this a couple months. It's gonna look really good. It'll look like a completely different car. Already got a bunch of parts on order to fix this up. So consider that. And I really appreciate you watching this video, and we'll go do some more driving because Otto's getting antsy in the back, right?